Adam here, and in this video, what I want to do is show you a quick analysis I did on the 2021 Showdown Milli-Maker winning lineups, and see if there's some knowledge that we can glean. I played a lot of Showdown last year and actually that's where I made my money. I lost money in the main slates, but I made money on the Showdowns, and so I'm trying to improve. I'm happy with the way I'm doing things, but I definitely want to improve, and I think this information could be helpful. Somewhat inconclusive, to be honest with you, and a lot of it is because it is Milli-Maker, and in the Milli-Maker, you have tons of lineups on a Showdown slate, and it's just going to be wonky. Things are just going to be the way they are. I think, for instance, I think Royal Pain 21, who's someone I highly respect. I think he won one of the Kansas City Showdowns because he put the fullback in, Burton, I had never heard of him, and he like ran in for a touchdown. He fell in for a touchdown, or something. Like real wonky stuff like that. And so the first thing I want to do, I'm sharing here. So first thing I want to do here is show you the amount of dupes for the winners, because this is really important. I really care about uniqueness when it comes to my lineups. I don't want to win. I'd rather not win at all than to win and hold hands with 150 people. And so, but then there were some, and I did 50 showdowns, by the way. I think it went up to week 16. I didn't do all of them, but I did 50 showdown slates, the big showdown slates. And this is really cool because there were, and you have to think about this, there's only 7 out of 50 that were like solo winners, like the person got $1 million by themselves. And there's always something wonky, typically something wonky with it. Like in this one, this was where the guy played Josh Jackson, I think, the guy who replaced Flacco when he got injured. So the backup QB was played 1.1% of the time and scored like 28 points. That's gonna win you a that's gonna win you a million if you get that right. And this is the Burton one where Burton fell in for a touchdown as a fullback. There's some real wonky stuff, and you'll see on these. I'm looking at. There's a lot of things I looked at here. There's many ways to slice and dice this. You'll see and I'll zoom in a little to make this a little easier to see. I think from a kicker or defense side, and then fringe players like the QB or the fullback or an unknown wide receiver or a backup tight end or things like that. Like there were lots of fringe players on these. Some of them didn't have them, which I was real interested in. And some of them were a little wonky. Like this one was not only this one had a QB as the captain with the opposing defense in the winning Milli-Maker lineup, and that's why it only was duplicated twice. And so I really think when it comes to Milli-Makers, you've got if you really want to take it by yourself, you've got to get wonky. You don't want to be too crazy, but you've got to do something that really makes you unique. And then if that one random thing hits, like the Burton touchdown or the backup QB going in, which I'm thinking about, but probably I have not sold on it yet, or putting the QB with the defense. Normally you actually put a rule to remove the two, but in Showdown things might be different. That's something to consider. Another thing that I think was in some of the unique, the hardly duped lineups were running backs from the same team, like Harrison Stevenson, that was New England. Tight ends from the same team, Cook and Parham. I think that one won. Yeah, that one won. Only split 4 ways with both Jared Cook and Donald Parham from the Chargers on that lineup. The 2 running backs on the same team showed up 3 or 4 times. I know one of them had Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines. So just things to consider when you're playing that large of a field, and you want to chop the pot with as few people as possible. So there's a high risk, high reward with those types of things. I probably won't be playing the Milli-Maker and Showdowns. That's going to drain my bankroll too fast. So there are some things that this helped me with, but I'm probably not going to get that crazy. But I may end up doing some interesting things. So let's look at this. Captain-wise, this is really important. Who was the captain? There was only a fringe tight end and a fringe wide receiver that showed up once. Fringe wide receiver was Byron Pringle. He was the captain one week. And the fringe tight end was, this was the Uzoma. I had a hard time figuring out if Uzoma was a normal tight end or a fringe tight end. I remember playing Showdown that week and said Uzoma is not a core player on the Bengals, and so I would not play him as a captain. I intentionally did not play him as a captain, and of course didn't make much money that week. So that's those are the fringe. You can debate me if that's a fringe play. That's fine. The defenses were showed up twice. So their defenses were the captain twice. Kickers showed up 0 times. Never play a kicker at captain. When I see the captain ownership percentage for defense, it's always more than like this 4%. It's always more. And remember, this is combined of both defenses. You probably pick the one that is probably better. Like this was probably New England in this case. I actually don't know which one it would have been in this case. I knew when I looked at this. You understand what I'm saying? Like I'm still not sold on picking defenses given the ownership that's on attached to them. The one that was really interesting to me was quarterback. In DraftKings, I do not expect quarterback captains to win as much as they actually did, which was 12 out of 50 lineups is 24%. I played 0 quarterback captains last year, and this is making me rethink it. In a Milli-Maker, QB captains are winning 24% of the time in the last 50 from last year. I'm thinking about it. I'm still not sold on putting QB at captain, but it's something that I'm actually considering. And I think a lot of the pros do it. I was looking at some of the pro lineups, and they do put QB at captain. Part of the no QB captain for me is just making it simpler for me on my rules. So it's part of it. I'm not a professional. So at running backs were 16 out of 50 lineups. It's 32%. And then a core pass catcher that is, a tight end like a Kelsey or a Darren Waller, or obviously a core wide receiver. Those showed up, and how many was that? It was like 18 or 36%. So you can kind of get a feel for where things are. The running back, that's an interesting piece. The other thing that's interesting to me is the setup. And what I'll do is I'll just sort this A to Z so you can see it. But only 7 of the 50 lineups winners had a 1 to 5. That means the captain was the only person on the team. So I think one week that was Alex Collins against Pittsburgh. Alex Collins was the captain, and it was 5 Pittsburgh people running it back. That was very, those are very interesting lineups. And then the 2 to 4s, same concept. I think this one was like Dallas. Dak was the quarterback with Zeke, and he scored all the points. And then New Orleans had, enough spread around to come up with the rest. That was an interesting week for sure. But this was only 7 out of 50 lineups. I didn't ever play these 1-5s and 2-4s, and I'm curious what their dupes are. See, these dupes are okay, but it's still not like enough for me. One of them was over 100 or about 100. This isn't enough for me to want to do this. So I'm planning to actually put rules in based on this data to say I only want to play 3 3s, 4 2s. The other one was the onslaughts. I actually stayed away from onslaughts. This is 5, the captain plus 4 people on the same team versus the 1 on the other team. This is interesting that there was 8 of these. So I'm thinking about adding onslaughts to my lineup construction this year. That's very interesting. And then from a QB standpoint, the QBs, it was crazy. Every single lineup, it's kind of intuitive, but every single lineup had at least 1 quarterback, and 26% of them had both. I think that's really important. This is the quarterbacks opposing. This was 10 out of 50 or 20%. And the quarterback where it's just the quarterback that matched with his captain. Obviously, if the quarterback was the captain, that the other team quarterback wasn't in there, it was same. That's 54%. So typically it's 1 quarterback. Sometimes it's 2 quarterbacks. Sometimes it's the opposing quarterback. But 100% of lineups, this is big. 100% of lineups had a quarterback in it. So I did this last year. I put a rule that says I must use at least 1 quarterback. I never had him in the captain, but I always had them in the lineup, at least one of them. And I never regretted it. That seems to be the trend, and I like that. The running backs, this wasn't too helpful of information. You'll see that it's sprinkled around. What I was expecting was 1 to 2, and that's kind of what it was. Some had 3, some had 0. I was thinking about adding a rule that said it included at least 1 running back. And let's see, if I put 0 here, how many had 0 running backs? Yeah, there were like 7. Again, you have to really think about this though. The ones where there are 0 running backs, you have to really consider the slate. Like for instance, the slate coming up week 1, 2022 is Rams versus Bills. And there are 2 potential viable running backs on the Rams and 3 on the Bills. And so you really have to consider, um, that could be a week that no running backs are in the optimal lineup for Showdown. And it's simply because of the way the running back situation is on those teams at that time. Like, that's a very interesting play. And so I would say from a running back standpoint, it's very slate dependent. I'm going to really think about what I'm doing with running backs based on the slate. And honestly, the same thing with QBs. Like maybe putting the opposing QB with a really good running back, like Derrick Henry, for instance, with the opposing team's running back. I might be more inclined to do something like that. So options from there. Pass catchers didn't learn much from there. I was really interested in kickers and specialty or in defenses because I don't like playing them. I just don't. And and so you'll see that like the winners had 0 of those 44% of the time, which that's intriguing to me, but it was less than half. I was thinking it would be more than that, and I was mistaken. Just because the kickers get a lot of ownership and they shouldn't. They're just low punt plays, and maybe that helps with lineup construction in certain places. So I'm thinking about, I think I might make a rule that says I only have up to 1 of these, the 2 kickers or the 2 defenses. I played that rule some last year and liked it. I might keep that. And then the Fringe Plays. This one was interesting because to make a Millie, the question was, the thought I had was you had to have at least 1 Fringe play. And so this was interesting. How many Milli-Makers had 0 Fringe plays? And the answer was over 50%. And that is very interesting to me. Again, they did real uniques type stuff, like the Harrison Stevenson, the quarterback with the opposing defense. This one was like, I hate to call it a fringe play because McCaffrey got hurt. That's where the one where Chuba Hubbard was in the winning lineup. He played the backup running back. I guess you could call him a fringe play in his own right. Maybe I should have made that a fringe play. But this is very interesting. And so the takeaway I got was you don't necessarily need a fringe play. So that's my analysis from this. Hope this information was helpful. I'm not sure what rules I'm going to set, but this definitely was profitable in bringing that insight. And thanks. We'll see you next video.